Hey Stargazers, welcome back. My name is Nick. I'm a theaters manager at the Adler Planetarium, and you're watching Skywatch Weekly. Well, this week we're going to put it all together in the wintertime sky. We'll be connecting the dots and making some larger patterns to look for. This is an especially good idea for stargazers in light-polluted cities because the brighter stars we'll be looking at are visible even through that sky glow. So let's begin tonight right around 9 o'clock, looking due south here in Chicago. We're looking about 4 hours past sunset. Now the stars we'll be looking at will be visible already by the time darkness falls, but about 4 hours past sunset is when they'll be at their highest over the horizon and due south. Well, over the past couple of weeks, we've covered the constellations of Orion and his two hunting companions, Canis Major and Canis Minor, as well as Taurus the Bull. As a quick recap, you can find Orion most easily by looking for the belt of 3 stars. His shoulders are above that, and his knees are down below. Using the belt, you can point first to the right to Aldebaran, the eye of Taurus the Bull, and pointing the other way brings you to Sirius, the brightest star in the nighttime sky, sometimes called the Dog Star. That's part of Canis Major, the big dog. Up and to the left or east from Sirius is Procyon, the only easily visible star in Canis Minor, the little dog. One eye-catching pattern between constellations is called the Winter Triangle. This is formed by connecting the star Betelgeuse, the fiery orange shoulder of Orion, to the 2 stars of the dogs, Sirius and Procyon. This forms an almost perfectly equilateral triangle with 3 very bright stars at its vertices. The Winter Triangle forms a fitting counterpart to the well-known Summer Triangle. You might have seen this in the summer while stargazing, maybe watching the Perseid meteor shower in August. The Summer Triangle is quite a bit larger and gets higher in the sky from mid-northern latitudes, but the stars in the Winter Triangle are much brighter on average, and the smaller size makes it even more eye-catching. Well, the Winter Triangle is a good start, but there's an even larger shape to draw in the sky. Let's look above the Winter Triangle for some other constellations to see. Here we reach 2 stars that are almost the same brightness. You might even call them twins. These are the heads of Gemini, Pollux and Castor. We've mentioned the twins briefly before in a video while talking about the Geminid meteor shower, but let's dive a little bit deeper. The idea of grouping these stars as twins predates the Greek constellations. In Babylonian astronomy, these 2 were known as the Great Twins. If you imagine the stars Pollux and Castor as the heads of the twins, with some imagination, you can picture 2 stick figures side by side. Egyptian skywatchers called this grouping the goats, and Arabian lore indicates 2 peacocks. Gemini's feet dip into the winter Milky Way, so there are several beautiful deep sky objects in this constellation. The Medusa Nebula is a beautiful example of a planetary nebula, the expelled outer shell of a star entering the last stage of its life. There's also the Jellyfish Nebula, the remnants of a star that went out with more of a bang than a whimper, a supernova. The shockwave of remnant material is moving through the surrounding molecular clouds and creating this amazing view. There's also a beautiful pair of star clusters off the foot of Castor, M35 and NGC 2158. M35 is big and bright, a wonderful view through binoculars or a small backyard scope. NGC 2158 is harder to make out, but it is more compact, so you might be able to spot it right next to M35. Gemini holds an interesting place in the realm of solar system discovery. When William Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781, that planet was in the constellation of Gemini at the time. In 1930, Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto in photographic plates that showed part of the sky near the waist star of Pollux. Gemini has also had its effect on naming conventions in space exploration. The famous Gemini Observatory is a pair of twin telescopes, one located on Mauna Kea in Hawaii, and the other in the Atacama Desert in Chile. When referring to the space program between Mercury and Apollo, by convention it's pronounced Gemini. The Gemini space program was so named because the capsule would hold 2 astronauts. Here you can see Buzz Aldrin and Jim Lovell, the crew of Gemini 12, posing in a Gemini capsule. The actual Gemini 12 capsule is on permanent loan to the Adler Planetarium. And when we reopen to the public, make sure you come check out this piece of space history. From Gemini, we launch high in the sky, past the zenith here in Chicago, to the bright star Capella. Capella is the brightest star in the constellation of Auriga the Charioteer. Capella is easily missed this time of the year because it's quite literally at the top of the sky. You have to remind yourself to look up, all the way up, to see it. The oblong pentagon of stars that make up Auriga should be mostly visible in Chicago on a clear night. In artwork, Auriga's chariot is generally nowhere to be seen, but he's often saddled with a goat and at least 2 kids. As high as Capella is in the sky tonight, in the summer months it rides low in the northern sky. In fact, it's close enough to Polaris, the North Star, that from latitudes north of 44 degrees, Capella is actually a circumpolar star, meaning it never sets in the sky. From Chicago, at 42 degrees north, it briefly dips beneath the horizon. So now let's tie all this together. Let's zoom out and look at this entire region of the sky. Capella marks the top, and Sirius marks the bottom of a huge shape in the sky. Let's connect the dots. Capella to Aldebaran, Aldebaran to Rigel, Rigel to Sirius, Sirius to Procyon, Procyon to Pollux and Castor, and Pollux and Castor up to Capella. For some, this is the winter circle. Others see the winter hexagon. Some connect Aldebaran to Betelgeuse to form a huge letter G. However you see it, this is a huge pattern that dominates the evening sky this time of the year, and it's very bright. It contains 9 of the 15 brightest stars visible from mid-northern latitudes. And it's on the ecliptic, so the moon will often pass through. In fact, it just passed through earlier this week. And at different times, various planets will be amongst the stars. This March, Mars will enter the winter circle for a time, although it'll be much dimmer than it is right now. So my challenge for you this week is to get out there and trace out the stars of the winter circle or the winter hexagon. It's big, it's eye-catching, it's a great way to get a quick tour of some of the brightest and most beautiful stars in the sky. Well, that's what we have for you this week. Thanks, as always, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Adler's YouTube channel if you haven't yet, and also follow us on social media. Happy stargazing, and we'll see you next week.